Awesome.
How you doing, man?
Good, man. Good. Just chilling. Try not to eat anything today. Got 2 gallons of water, so it's fun.
Yeah. How many gallons have you done today? One.
Yeah, I've already done one. I got one more to go. Haven't started it yet. I try not to start the other one till after 12. So try and finish the first one before noon and start the other one after noon. So
Do you just drink two a day?
yeah, so yesterday I had two, today I have two, and then after this we have the water intake every day till weigh-ins.
For the people at like home that don't really understand, how hard is it to drink 2 gallons of water a day?
It's pretty hard, man. Like after you drink one of them before noon, and I gotta pee like every 30 minutes almost, and I was making a joke yesterday. It's like my piss doesn't even smell like piss anymore. It's just water. Um, that's a good sign, and normally I jump up a lot heavier than I did this time. On 2 gallons of water. So that's a really good sign. I'm hoping the rest of the cut continues to be that smooth, and we're just gonna go with it.
Yeah, you're about 6 days away from the or 5 days away from the weigh-in. About what are you walking around at right now?
This morning I woke up at 283.
That's not bad. That's not bad. What are going to be your plans for your weight cut, or what's your normal weight cut like?
Normally I land anywhere. I've landed as heavy as 282. I've also landed as light as 275 before. So whatever I land at determines what Trifecta does for their meals for me that week. And it's just it's hard. I mean, you're losing. I'm losing 17, or I started at 280, so I'm losing 14 pounds of weight in the span of 6 days. It's not as hard as some guys do, but it's by no stretch of the imagination easy. Um, so yeah, we have the water intake every day. There's no sodium in my diet at all right now, which is tough, but you know, gotta do what you gotta do. And no dairy. That's rough. No, not a whole lot of carbs either. So it's tough. I mean, it's not easy, but as soon as I land, I'll see where the weight's at. I'll probably try and get a quick little sweat in that night. I'll probably do 2 or 3 miles on the treadmill, and then go to bed. I land tomorrow night, and I know the hotel has a fitness room, so I'll just do a quick run in there, and then pretty much every night I've got goals at what weight I need to be each night. I usually go to bed no more than 5 over the night before, and then whatever I have left in the morning, I cut that before the weigh-ins. I get up at 5 a.m. day of weigh-ins and check my weight, and we go from there. But last two times, I've only had to cut like half a pound or a pound the morning of, so it hasn't been bad at all.
Yeah, it's not too bad. So a few things have changed since the last time we talked back in like November. Well, one, I got a podcast now, and two, you got a couple new things. Whenever we talked last time, you were about to move to Jackson Wink. Now you're at Jackson Wink. How's that like? How's that helped you?
Man, it's helped me immensely. I'm just in a better place mentally. I'm happy. I'm happy to train again. All these coaches out here. My coaches back home weren't bad at all, but it's just it would get to days where they're like they would have to go with me because nobody was there, and now I don't have that problem. I have people there every day wanting to get better. So many people trying to push towards the same goal, so it helps me. And it's a different type of thing. Like back home, I was the best guy there, so it's not where it wasn't. I didn't have to be sharp every day. I could take reps off, or I could be exhausted going to training and just kind of BS my way through it. Here, I can't do that. I have to be sharp. Everyone can threaten you in some way here, so I have to always be sharp and always go. And it forces me to elevate my own level every time I'm training, and that's been the biggest difference. Once camp really got to the intense part, that was early January. Early January is when I started really picking up the intensity every day and bringing that killer instinct every day in training. So we haven't had a whole lot of bad days this camp. There was one day where I performed really badly, and then since then it's been super smooth sailing.
Yeah, you kind of touched on it just now when you were explaining, but I'd have to imagine the training partners like level went up whenever you went to Jackson Wink. Who are like some of your normal training partners now, and how much have they helped you?
The most consistent training partner I have is probably Joel Bauman. He's in all the same classes that I am. I train with him a lot. He's fought for Bellator before. Christian Edwards, I train with him quite a bit. He's a beast, man. He's young. He's only 21, but I mean, his range of attacks is crazy, and he fights at 205. So that's a good one. Devin Clark got here a few weeks ago, so training with him has been huge. Davion Franklin, who's making his Bellator debut a couple weeks after I fight. So training with those guys. I've done a few rounds with John. Then there's a pro boxer here that I train with a little bit. So I'm getting all kinds of different looks, and I'm always having to stay sharp, which is
fun. And another thing that's changed since we talked last is last time you were talking about when you wanted to fight next and stuff like that, but now you have a fight against Justin Tafa. What's like, well, you can't really talk about your game plan too much, but what do you see about his weaknesses and what makes you like that fight?
I like that fight a lot. One, because he's traveling from a long way to take that fight. Two, he's a short guy. He's only 6 feet tall. He's not a great grappler, and his reach is only 74 inches, 75 inches. So those are all really nice things for me. Those all play really well into my wheelhouse. So, and he's not very mobile. He tends to gas quickly, but he also, can always knock you out. He's got knockout power in either hand. He's pretty accomplished on the feet. I know his brother's a professional kickboxer as well. He's out training at Tiger Muay Thai. Like, dude's legit, and to be signed with the UFC as young as he is definitely indicative of how talented he has and all the potential he has. So I have to respect that. I'm pretty sure he's gonna be evolved a lot from his last fight as much as I've evolved from my last fight. So those are all things that I look for in a martial art. I look for a good challenge, but I also look for a good matchup, and this is a great combination of the two.
Yeah, somebody else that's fighting this Saturday is one of your training partners too, John Jones. How serious is he taking Dominic Reyes?
Very seriously. I don't think I've ever seen someone take a camp as seriously as John takes his camps. And it's holistic. It's not just with the martial arts training. He takes great care of his body. He invests a lot into recovering and making sure he's feeling well. His mental aspects of, he's very conscientious of who's around him at all times, of what type of energy they're putting into him at all times, what type of, he doesn't allow for anyone to put doubt in his head. And that's been super, it's been really inspiring, watching John train. Like some of his sessions, I just sit there and watch just to see how someone at that level that's been doing it as long as he has does things, and it's been really I've learned a lot from it.
Yep. Have y'all got the chance to actually like spar and train together?
We've done a couple of really light rounds. Obviously, I'm not gonna hit John as hard as I can. It's a title fight coming up there. We've done some touch sparring and we've rolled a little bit. And like I said, he's deceptive. He's a lot stronger than he looks, but he's also very. I don't think his athleticism gets as much recognition as it deserves. John's a really talented athlete, and and just he's got. I mean, he's a savant when it comes to fighting, man. When it comes to combat sports, John can do things that nobody else can.
Is this your main card debut?
No, I was on the main card for my last fight. This is my pay-per-view debut,
though. Yeah. How does that feel? And I saw the video where you like realized, or it got broke to you that you were on the main card. You looked pretty excited. Was there any like nerves going into this or
Nah,
initially?
man, it's so weird. I mean, I've never been this calm for a fight, honestly. I'm excited, obviously, but I was just like, oh, well, that's one way to find out. Now I'm in my head, I'm rewiring to when I'm gonna fight, right? So when you're on the early part of the card, you can fight as early as 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Now I know I'm not fighting till 9 p.m. probably at the earliest, right? So
Yeah.
so that it's just a rewiring at this point. It's not really me being nervous or anything. I'm super appreciative and thankful for the opportunity to be put in such a premier spot on a pay-per-view. With somebody that John won the title in 2011. That's right around when I started watching MMA. So it's kind of just it's crazy. I graduated high school in 2010, and John was fighting for a world title the next year, right?
Yeah.
And that's just so strange to me still, because John's only 3 or 4 years older than me. So it's it's cool. I mean, it puts a lot into perspective for me, and that's how I'm feeling. I'm not really starstruck or shocked or or nervous about anything. I'm just taking it all in and just happy, man, and thankful, and just appreciative of the way that my path and my life trajectory has played out up until this point.
Yeah, if you kind of look at it though, I mean, you're kind of like the co-main event. Because Valentina and Caitlin, that's pretty much a main event,
Yeah,
So
and that's another thing. Valentina has Houston ties, but a lot of people at one of the gyms I go at, Woo Fighters World. That's where I go, and I used to buy all my gear from there when I still lived in Houston. And they opened up a little training studio right next to the gym, Woo Training Studio, and their head coach there, Alexis Chavarria, he's their Muay Thai instructor, but he's helped Valentina get ready for fights. So I'm always hearing about Valentina, and that's cool too. That's really cool.
yeah, you're fighting in Houston, and Derek Lewis is fighting too that night. Is there any more Houston boys on the card?
Yeah, actually, Trevin Giles, who's a middleweight, he's fighting on the card. I believe he was an LFA title holder as well. And then there's Alex Morano, who's a Houston guy. I think he started at Gracie Baja in the Woodlands, I believe, but he trains a lot in Houston as well. So having those two guys on the card again, when I was an amateur fighter, right? When I started as an amateur, these are the people I was always hearing about: Trevin Giles, Derek Lewis, Alex Morano. And to see those guys like on the same card as me, Andrea Lee, who she's not from Houston, but she's friends with a lot of people from Houston as well. Seeing her on the card, that it's so crazy to me to be on the same card with these people that when I was an amateur, I never thought I would get the opportunity to be on the same card as them, and I didn't even know if I was ever going to make it to the UFC. I wanted to. I believed in myself that I could do it, but you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, that's true. Speaking of Derek Lewis, the video that went viral of him beating up that boxer, do you know who that boxer is? It was in Houston, if I'm not wrong.
I have no clue. And what's weird about Houston is it's such a big city, right? There's a market for pretty much everything there. There are a lot of boxing gyms. There's a lot of people there that have done some type of combat sport. Now, whether that combat sport is legit or not is, you can question. But there's always someone there that's trained in some way, that's always like trying to challenge you or say that they know something that they don't. So I don't know who the guy was, but it's probably, I think Derek's the only guy that actually would film it or have actually let the guy show up and do it, because even me, like one of my acquaintances, or there's people that'll go up to that person's job and be like, hey, this guy, like, I think I could take him, blah blah blah, and all this other stuff. Like, they want to show up to the gym, sign a waiver, that's one thing. I don't care, but I'm not gonna invest my energy and
Yeah.
clowns, man. Like, it is what it is. They're all clowns. That's what I classify these guys as. Is, people that say they could fight or say they could take you when, like, bro, you still have a day job. Like, all I do is train all day. We're not the same.
Have you and Derek ever got the chance to train or anything like that together in Houston?
One time, actually, I was helping Derek with his wrestling one time. I forget who he was fighting. It was years ago, and all I can remember was, I took him down, and which I don't even think Derek cares when you take him down because he's so good at getting up. He's
Yeah.
so strong. Like, he just got up effortlessly, and I was fat at the time. I was like 315, and he just got up, and I'm like, what? So uh, it was interesting, man. That's just the one thing I remember is like taking him down. And normally I take someone down, I'm like, I'll just hold him here for a while. Like, I don't have to put a lot of thought into it. And he was just like standing up effortlessly, and then we would start on the ground, and it would be the same thing. He's just so good at getting up because he's so strong, and a lot of people underestimate his strength and power, and now he's got some technique to go along with it. So I've watched his last few fights, and he's a hard guy to keep down. So I think that's really cool, and I'm happy to see him be as successful as he's been because he's a great person.
Yeah. Well, you're a heavyweight, and you train with John Jones, so you would know you would have a little bit of insight on this question. How do you think he would do at heavyweight?
It's crazy. I think John, on a technical level, is past most heavyweights, right? I think he would do pretty well. The only times I'll have success against John is when I use all 280 something pounds of me, and like just like try and hold him there because that slows him down a little bit. But I think he would do pretty well, especially since most heavyweights are getting more towards the lighter side. They're not really being such big guys anymore. So when you're as technical as John is, I think you can have success at pretty much any level.
Yeah. Well, speaking of you and John and Derek, and your fights this Saturday, there's some other big fights coming on. Who do you got in all those? And who do you got in the Bullet and Caitlin fight?
Man, I have Valentina in that one just because I think she's a lot more powerful than Caitlin Chukagian. I've picked Caitlin Chukagian before, and people were always shocked, but she's a very technically sound fighter. She's a very good point fighter. I just don't think that's going to work against Valentina when you hit as hard as she does,
Yeah. And another like good insight on that fight for Chukagian's side is her boyfriend or husband, I'm not really sure which one it is a very good wrestler, so we could see some of that coming into play.
Yeah, I think Valentina lost the fight due to grappling one time, and since then she's worked on it quite a bit. I think she's even picked up a submission victory since then. Her wrestling is highly underrated. She does train it. I know she's been out at Tiger Muay Thai, I think, most of this one, so staying on the feet, but she's got decent wrestling ability.
Yeah. And then another one, Lewis and Latifi. How do you see that going?
I don't think Latifi is strong enough to hang with Derek Lewis. Even if he takes him down, Derek will get up. It's going to take a lot of energy to take Derek down, and Derek can end the fight at any instant with one punch. You saw with Volkov, right? So I don't think Latifi's ready for that, and especially since it's only a 3-round fight this time too. Derek can put a little bit more in his punches each round.
Yeah. Speaking of, we'll pause real quick. And speaking of him, if the fight opportunity came, would you take a fight with Derek, or is that something like your hometown boys? Like,
we're hometown boys. I don't. If the money was right, we would probably both do it, but we're not gunning for each other. We just both want each other to be successful. So I don't. Is that a fight I'm ever gonna ask for? No. If they offer it to me and Derek's down, and yeah, I would fight him, but it's not something I'm actively looking for. There's other guys that I want to fight. There's so many guys on the roster that I actually actively want to fight that doesn't make sense to ask for a top 5
Yeah.
guy right now, you know?
Yeah, I was just talking about like maybe one day down the road or something.
Yeah, down the line, like 2 or 3 years down the line, yeah, I'd probably consider it a lot more than.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's go back to the breakdown. Then we got Bektik and I don't know, is it Ige or Ige?
Yeah. You know, Bektik has a lot of hype behind him. I just think Dan Ige is slept on. You know, I like Dan Ige's power a lot. You know, and I think he's gonna get it done. I just got a feeling about that one.
And then we got Lauren Murphy and somebody you talked about earlier, Andrea Lee.
Oh, that's a tough one. You know, I think that one's gonna go to decision. I don't think it's gonna be and I think it's gonna be a really close fight, honestly. Lauren's out there at Houston Muay Thai. She's training with Crew Bob, I believe, who's Derek Lewis's main trainer. And you know, Bob knows his stuff. Bob is great at getting people ready for fights all the time. And Andrea Lee, though, is someone that I see is just year-round, stays in fight shape, stays ready, is constantly honing her abilities. She's also pretty well-rounded. You know, I don't know which camp she's at now, but her and I talk frequently, and I think that's a tough one. But actually, yeah, I can't even call that. That was too close to call. I don't even know. I really don't know who's gonna win that one. I know it's gonna be a really good fight. I know it's gonna be really entertaining, and I know that it's gonna probably be one of those fights that they show highlights of for years to, you know, grow women's MMA even more.
Yeah. I got 2 more questions for you, and then I'll let you go. But how do you feel about the current state of like the heavyweight division and the title situations?
Here's the thing, man. I'm so far removed from the title picture right now. I don't really have like.
Well, like as a fan standpoint.
Yeah, I've got like no dog in that fight really. But the way I see it is, you know, as a title holder, you should have to defend it at least twice a year. That's how I see it, right? And you know, Curtis is sitting there primed and ready. Ngannou's tied up right now. He's got the fight with Rosenstruck coming up, right? Yeah. So, and then Daniel Cormier is itching for the rematch right there. So that's your top 5 in a nutshell. And I feel that, yes, Stipe should have to defend against one of those other guys. It's not DC, and DC can wait around for a rematch if he wants to. If Stipe beats someone else, then DC should get a rematch. But if Stipe is really going to be taking an extended absence from MMA for a little bit, I think you should go ahead and do a interim title shot with Curtis and DC. That'd be a great fight to make. Or
fight that Slaves has been wanting to.
Yeah. Or you could do the winner of Ngannou and Rosenstruck against DC or Blades, you know. I think that's how it would go, but there's 3 or 4 possibilities you can make right now that will be a lot better than just sitting there letting the division be stagnant.
Yeah. And my last question is kind of a 2-in-1, but they're future predictions. How do you see Tony Khabib going down, and then Ngannou and Rosenstruck streak?
I think Khabib's gonna win a decision against Tony. I don't think he finishes Tony. I think Tony's style is so offensive based. You know, I think he gets caught up in the just going. He can go 5 rounds. We know that. He's always looking to inflict damage, but his style is very unconventional on top of that. So I don't feel that Khabib won't be ready for him. I think Khabib's constant pressure, the fight's going to go to the ground. If it stays on the feet, I think Tony's definitely got the advantage there. But I just feel like Khabib's going to do what he always does, and that does 2 things: take you down and win. So I think Khabib's going to win that fight. I think it'll be somewhat close. The first 2 rounds will be close, but after that, I feel that Khabib's just his pressure is going to be too much for Tony. Again, though, whoever wins that fight, I'll be happy. I like both those guys.
Yeah.
They're super entertaining and they're great for the sport. So I like both of them. And Rozenstruik and what's his name? Ngannou. From what I've seen, Rozenstruik, he knocked somebody out with 10 seconds left in the 5th round. So to me, that says better cardio than Ngannou there.
Yeah.
He's got a striking background. I think he's a little bit more, I guess I would say, conventional on the feet than what Ngannou is. But Ngannou's a lot like Lewis. Any punch can end you. He just hits differently. So when you factor that in, it's one thing, but Rozenstruik has a very extensive kickboxing background, I believe. So if it stays on the feet, I think Rozenstruik will probably get a decision win here. I think it's going to be very reminiscent of the Derek Lewis and Ngannou fight, where both of them have so much power that it's going to fall back on, who can be more technical for 5 rounds.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's all I got for you, man. I appreciate you taking the time out and talking to me, man.
No problem, brother. You have a good one.
All right, man. You too.
Later.